And I already showed, let you share the screen.
Okay.
Well, hello, everybody. I don't know if you can hear me yet. Just seeing people joining, but the recording is already working. I'm so glad to have you today, Melanie. Just gonna, introduce you a few times, I guess, until everybody's joining.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just wait. And this time, I think I managed it to have everybody muted and that everybody can just join in automatically. Yeah. Oh, they're in the waiting room. Oh my God. Still need to learn with Zoom sometimes. It's funny. You see them joining too, Melanie?
Yep. I can see the numbers rising. That's great.
Good. All on time. Perfect. Hello, everybody. Just waiting to let everybody else in. But in the meantime, I'm glad that you arrived in our little round table room. Maybe even with a little healthy lunch on your plate. I don't know. It's like 12 noon in Ontario, at least. Claudia and the others maybe have breakfast. I don't know. Okay. Just gonna wait one more minute. There's still people joining. And just so you know, we are recording the meeting just so everybody else can also enjoy every single word that Melanie has to share today. I'm always so happy to have her. She's the face you all know from the videos that we recorded together, how to implement the meal plan and how to do the consultation. So she's also doing the webinars most likely for all the new coaches, and she's really doing an amazing job in helping me out big time. So I'm really honored that you're here today, Melanie. It's great to work with you.
Thanks, Vera. You are amazing. We are so lucky to have you as our head for metabolic balance.
Thank you so much. All right. I know that there's going to be more people joining in, but I would just say you can go ahead. We don't want to let everybody wait who came here on time. So hi again to everybody. Nice to see you at the screen, and the stage is all Melanie's. And Melanie, if you don't mind, just introduce yourself. You know best who you are. and you've done it so many times, so it's all yours. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Vera. Yeah, thank you. Honestly, I know every time we get together and do these things, I thank you, Vera, but you are truly, truly so supportive to us. And it's amazing how you have affected so many of us coaches. Like you have no idea what your role has done for me, and I'm sure for so many of the other coaches. You're a big reason that we're so successful. So thank you for having me. And I'm always happy to be here to share information, because I feel like I just want to help give back like you did for me. So we'll just kind of dive in and get started today. I want to talk a little bit about, how I used to do group sessions. I no longer do it. So I'll talk about kind of my transition into it, and then what I did while I was doing it, and then how I also got away from it. And I'm sure most of you have probably seen some of the videos that Vera and I have done together, and probably the ones that I've done for Canadian School of Natural Nutrition that talks about my story. But if you haven't, I'll just kind of refresh you a little bit. I am super, super grateful for everything that Metabolic Balance has done for me personally, but also for my practice and my clients. I did the course for Metabolic Balance in 2013. And at that point, I had been working with my nutrition practice for about 4 years. I was really struggling. So if any of you are struggling, please stick with it. It was to the point that I was literally crying my eyes out. I was struggling financially. I was struggling within my marriage because I was spending so much time in my nutrition practice. I didn't have a life outside of studying, outside of trying to make this business work. I was getting counseling, And thank goodness, my counselor said to me, Melanie, don't give up. And he said, keep going. And he did give me some suggestions, what to do, but he saw something that I didn't see. And I was like, okay, I can't let him down. So literally I was doing this more for my counselor's sake than I was for me at that point. I was burnt out. And probably if I were to carry on, as I was before I started using metabolic balance, my marriage probably would have ended. So that was up to 2013. It was November of 2013 that I took the training for metabolic balance. And a little bit of good, funny information about that, which I don't tell too many people, but I'm trying to think what month it was. The training was in November. It was probably maybe even like the end of 2012. I went to see a psychic, and I'm very much into, all spiritual aspects of life. So this psychic, I had been to her before, and I wrote 10 questions down on a piece of paper, and I tucked it on my purse, and I never took this piece of paper out of my purse. Well, she answered every single question on my list. Okay. My very first question, though, on the top was, what can I do to make my business a success? I was burnt out financially. I was struggling. I had, no energy, but I was determined. I've got to make this work because my counselor told me not to give up. So my very first question when I'm in this psychic reading, she says, okay, in order to get your business to fly. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. I hadn't said anything. I would think at this point I was probably still finishing dealing the cards or something. She says, they're telling me something about here, here, and here. And she just kept pointing to hip, waist, and thigh. So waist, hip, and thigh, that's where she was pointing, which I didn't know at the time. She says, there's something that you're going to find. And they keep pointing here, here, and here. It's something to do with hormones, she says. I don't know what, she says, but it's men and women. She says, I don't even know if it's in Canada yet or if it's just new, but when you find this, this is going to make your business blossom huge. I'm like, okay. So now I'm on the hunt for something. I thought I was going to be doing lymphatic drainage. I didn't even know what I was going to be doing, but here, here, and here, that's what stuck in my head. Lo and behold, I had 3 things happen that started making me think that metabolic balance was something I needed to do. So the psychic was one, but I didn't know it was metabolic balance. The second thing was, I don't know if Susan Schroeder's on here today, but Susan actually contacted me. She called my office, and at this time in 2013, I was renting space from a chiropractor, and there was tons of practitioners in this office. So I was the chiropractor's assistant working part-time and then trying to build my business and renting space from her part-time. And then there was other osteopath, naturopaths, massage therapists. So it was a very busy office. There was, I think, 10 or 12 practitioners at the time. So Susan Schroeder calls me, and she called me because of some other product I was using. It was something to do with nutrition, and I was on their website as one of the practitioners. Long story short, after I hung up the phone with her, I got on her website and I saw she was a metabolic balance coach. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. But I'm looking into it, and you got to do blood work. And I'm like, but how can she do blood work? I can't do what she does. I don't work with a doctor. She must work with a doctor. So I just fluffed it off. So that was the second time metabolic balance was brought to my attention. Third time was I got an email from Lynn Hinton because I did my live blood analysis with Lynn. And this was an email promoting. So she must have connected with Vera at that time, and she was promoting metabolic balance. So I picked up the phone and I called Lynn, and I was like, Lynn, tell me about this. I'm like, okay, 3 times now, and this looks like something I need to look into. So I think I literally got off the phone with Lynn and I messaged Vera and I signed up for metabolic balance training. And then that was November of 2013. So crazy stuff happened around that time, because previously without metabolic balance, I was doing one-on-one clients. I had a lot of new clients coming in. I was very fortunate that I got a lot of referrals from live blood. But the problem was I didn't sell packages. I only did one-on-one appointments. I wasn't having a lot of returning clients. I now know some of the things that I was doing then that wasn't attracting them to come back. So it was a lot of like spinning my wheels. You got to work really hard to get your first client in that door, right? And I was constantly having to get more new clients. So I go to the training, and Dr. Fun Fact, amazing person. He was so genuine and so from the heart that I knew I was in the right place. But what really sold me, I don't know if I ever told you this, Vera, what really sold me was we went on a lunch break or something, and we were in the elevator, and I was in the elevator with Melissa and Jeannie and Vera. And I hear Melissa so excited because she's got all that energy. And she says, Vera, can I talk to the class? Can I talk to them and tell them about my experience? And I was like, wow, I'm impressed. I said, okay, I'm really in the right place. In my head, I'm having all these conversations. I'm really in the right place. And, for a coach to be that excited to want to share her testimony, I was like, okay, this is not just Metabolic Balance selling themselves. This program is selling itself. And so, so that was just kind of what really convinced me that this is an amazing service that I could provide. And then I think one of the last things that happened was Alex Gelman. I don't know if she's still practicing coach, but she is a psychic iridologist, and she was a coach as well, or still is a coach. And she looked in my eyes and she said, she said, you're going to be the top coach in Canada. And I was like, okay, I hadn't even finished the training yet, but okay. So super cool stuff that happened around that time. And I think I needed it because my self-esteem was in the toilet. I had been battling 4 years of not making money, not feeling confident, feeling like this was just a waste of my time. And so all these little things combined just gave me the get up and go to really run with Metabolic Balance. So that's just a little bit of the fun history of, when I was first starting with Metabolic Balance. But how I got it going was in January of 2014 is really when I launched it. I took the training in November, and then November, December worked on, my plan. What was I going to put in my packages? How much was I going to sell it for? How often was I going to see clients? All of those things. And then in January 2014, I was running with it. So I think I had 3 clients between November and December of 2013. And then it was 2014 when I found out that if you had 10 meal plans per month, you would get a free meal plan. So I'm all about saving money and bargains. And I was like, I need that. So that was my goal, was 10 plans every month. That was my goal. And I believe I started making 10 plans a month. I want to say after the first 3 months, so January, February, March, probably by April, maybe. And at that time, I was working in this office. And like I said, there was a lot of practitioners. I worked my way up from 2 days a week to 3 days a week with my nutrition clients, but I was working 10 to 12-hour days, literally back to back to back with clients. And it was a lot. It was very draining. And then I would spend 1 day at home doing paperwork. The first few clients, I want to say it was probably maybe 5. I don't even think I offered the first 10 clients a discount, but I know the first 5 for sure. I offered them $100 off, and that was just to get my feet wet. And so at that time it was $899, and that included my body compositions. And I believe I was offering 10 visits at that time for $899. And so marketing wise, I did not get a lot of referrals from my office. So I don't know if any of you work in a large office like that, but you're independent. So, you can't really expect that you're going to get a lot of referrals, but I did do monthly workshops. So the Metabolic Balance video, which you guys have probably seen, I've had different versions of it. I've done that same video probably at least 75 times. And that's no word of a lie, because I literally did that video at least once a month. And sometimes it was twice a month for probably the first 7 years of using Metabolic Balance. So that was huge for me. That's how I did gain a lot of new clients, was doing that workshop. And yes, I would advertise within the office, but then I also would go to nutrition stores and other practitioners and Even in the office space that I'm in now, I would leave flyers at the chiropractor's office in this plaza, and the hairstylists, and even we have a realtor in this plaza as well. So, just kind of getting the word out seems so old school, but it really worked at the time. And then I started doing things like experts on call on the radio. That was a really pricey adventure for me. It was, I want to say, $1,000 or $1,500 for 1 hour on the radio to be the expert. So it's a paid advertisement. You're interviewed, you've got your host, and we kind of have like pre-done, not really scripting, but we have like questions that she was going to ask me. I did a few of those, and that was really just to get the word out. Can't say it was really worthwhile. But it kind of put me in the position of being the expert in our area. External events, that was another thing that I did all the time. I did health expos, networking groups. I didn't do a lot of social media, didn't really feel comfortable with it, wasn't really big then. But the external events like the health expos and wedding shows and things like that, I try to do at least one additional event every month in addition to my workshop. So in combination with all of that, that's kind of how I started building up my practice. And I'll never forget the first month that I had $20,000 in sales. It was like astonishing. I want to say it was probably by June of 2014. So in my first year, I printed off my monthly sales report and I was like, oh my goodness, I just did basically what I did all of the year prior, like in 1 month's time. It was gross, wasn't my net, but oh my goodness, floored myself. And that's when I started to realize what a gem metabolic balance was. Now, in all of this time, I was still doing my live blood analysis. So I did have residual clients coming in for that. And some of my metabolic balance clients I'd be referring to do live cell, but not a lot. And so through my networking, I ended up connecting with a business coach. She was not a good business coach. I was fortunate enough that I had some, I guess you could call it business coaching with the chiropractor. The chiropractor I worked with was an amazing businesswoman. We did, probably 3 times a year, we traveled to chiropractic conventions. She paid a lot of money for her own coaching, which included coaching for her staff. And so, I had originally started as one of her admin assistants. But the coach that I ended up connecting with, she was through a networking group. And I think we just connected somehow at this group, and then we traded off services. And so one of the key things that I learned from her was, well, 2 things actually. When I did her consultation, she was evaluating me as a coach as well. So we were trading services, but she was also going to evaluate how I was presenting myself as a nutrition coach. And she says, Melanie, you're giving way too much information. And I was like, really? So that was hard, right? Because it's like, wow, I just want to share. I just want to help. I just want to give as much as I can. And she's like, you can't, you're overwhelming. And I'm like, okay. So had to learn how to take a step back and give less. Sometimes less is more, it's better received. And obviously I was giving so many things to clients to do that they were not executing them. So that's probably why they weren't returning either. So that was one key thing. The second thing she said to me is, Melanie, what are you going to do when you are booked so full that you can't take any more clients? And I laughed. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Well, little did I know, metabolic balance just kept going, and it was like a snowball effect. I got to the point where I couldn't fit clients in. I had a 4 to 6 week wait for new clients to get in. And that actually lasted quite a while. So the third thing that she said that was really important to me was she said, you need to offer 3 options for this program. And I thought, okay, she says, think about it. This is how it works in marketing. There's the low end cost, the medium, and the high end. She's like, you have to have 3 options. So that's what I did. She said, because most people are going to choose the middle option. So I chose a 3-month program, 6-month program, and 1-year program. And she was right. Most people went with the 6 months. So that was really interesting to see. And then how I corrected once I got busy, as she said, I got busy that I didn't have space, was that's when I started offering group coaching. So if you're just starting out and you think that, you may not need the group coaching, you might need to revisit that because there's a lot of benefits to doing it. And I'll show you what kind of take you through how I went into it and how I ended up coming out of it again and the reasons why. There's benefits to both. You have to really get to understand your clients, know your audience kind of thing, but also get to understand your own personal needs as well and kind of blend the two. So, so basically that's what I ended up doing was when I got busy enough that I was like, I can't have clients waiting that long. The good news in the beginning was I was the first coach in my area. So they had nowhere else to go. So that was, to my benefit that they were willing to wait because they didn't have anyone else to go to. But that didn't stay that way forever. So I needed to kind of resolve that issue. So I started offering group coaching, and with group coaching, I gave them a $100 discount. So they would be in a group setting and they'd get $100 off my regular price. So in the beginning, I still offered both individual and group. And I told them they'd save $100 if they did the group. So a lot of people would do the group. And then I started noticing that some people wouldn't do the group. Those were the people that were shy. They didn't really want to interact. And I understood that. Or there was times where, I felt that some clients needed some extra. Either they had a lot of health issues and we needed to work on that. And I didn't feel we'd be able to get that done in a group setting. Or I just felt like they needed a lot of hand holding. Or maybe they were just really, what's the word? Like, kind of Eeyore, like not really happy individuals. So they would probably take away from the group. So I would kind of direct them more to the individual. But during the group coaching, what I would do is I would meet with clients very quickly, do their body composition one-on-one, and go over the body composition results. And then basically any questions they'd have, I'd say, that's a great question. Let's talk about that in the group. And that's literally what I would do. So they were in and out with me and then go sit and wait in the group. So I would do an hour of the group together. When I first started, because I was at the chiropractor's office, I was working out of a very small room. So in order to do groups, I had to get creative. I did groups on lunch hour. So the chiropractor wasn't using the waiting room. So we would literally do it in the waiting room on lunch hour. And then I would do it after hours, after the chiropractor left. So I want to say I had like 2 lunch hours and 2 night times. And I do up to 8 people in this hour. We do a body composition. And then quickly say, yep, that's a great question. Let's talk about it in the group. And then we'd all sit down. So everybody would be sitting there waiting while everyone was getting their body composition done. It was great. There was a lot of laughter. There was a lot of connection. And then at that time, it was very organic. Like I didn't have a set format for what we were going to discuss. It was just, whatever questions they had. Okay. So the groups went well like that for quite some time. I want to say probably I stayed at that office for about a year and a half after doing metabolic balance. And the groups were going very well. I was getting a lot of good feedback. Like people were even saying, it's like having a slumber party. Like they were laughing and had a great time and really made some good connections. So that's what worked at that time. The monthly workshops were working for me. I was having optional pricing. I offered those 3 packages. I had people, choosing a lot of the 6-month packages. I also had add-on packages. And this is something that I really want to remind you guys that our care as a coach does not end at the end of the 3 months. There's maintenance to be done, and it's harder for our clients and even ourselves to stay maintained than it is to actually get to their goals. So don't forget that. And having additional add-on packages, whether it's related to just checking in for metabolic balance or other packages from other services that you might offer are really, really important. But they need the long-term support. The other thing that really worked for me as well was I would book all of their 3-month appointments all at one time. So as soon as they got their metabolic balance book, in that, I would also have all of their appointments. So at that time, they would have like 8 follow-up appointments with me. So they'd have their first consult, and then they'd get their book. That would be their second consult. And then they would have 8 appointments after that. And I would literally book all 8 of them. So they would see me twice a month, every 2 weeks. And I found that was really helpful for a couple of reasons. It created accountability. Clients then also knew when their package was going to end, because yes, there's an end date with my packages. And it also saved me time, right? It's very much a time saver to do one thing multiple times all at once than trying to book everyone, after each appointment. What didn't work for me at that time, though, was the 1-year plans. I did offer the 1-year plans for probably 2 years, maybe. I'm going to guess and say maybe 2 years, probably till about 2016. I found that it was not motivating for people. I found that it would be the people who were, I don't want to say lazy, but they knew they had more time, so they wouldn't push themselves. And honestly, they were the people that I didn't look forward to seeing. So, they weren't motivated, and I got tired of motivating them. So I dropped the 1-year plans. The other thing that didn't really work after a while was not having a plan for the group talks. Leaving organic was good in the beginning, but I didn't have any set formula. I didn't have set topics, anything like that. So that I ended up changing as well. And of course, at that time, I was still working too many hours. Like I went from 2 days a week up to 3 days a week. So like 10 to 12 hours each day, back to back to back clients. That was way too much. My rent was too high. I didn't have proper office space. I was squeezing too many clients in, and that just was not good for me personally, right? So other things that I would have changed in that time frame, I would have changed my pricing. So if there's anyone who's very new here, charge more than you think you need to charge. Even now, I'm not charging enough. I'm going to be raising my prices again. I haven't, done a lot of price increases, but when you start, charge more than you think you should be. I also was offering way too many visits. So that is another way that I've kind of been able to increase my prices without increasing my prices. I've taken visits away. So I used to offer 10 visits, and now I offer 8 visits. So 2 initials, right? The initial and giving them the meal plan, and then only 6 check-ins. And that's for a 3-month plan. And then the other thing that I would have done differently is less clients in one group. 1 hour for 8 people is not really smart. It worked. I did it for probably, I stopped doing groups just with COVID basically. So I probably did it for about 7 years, but not recommended. Even when I had my assistant working with me, not really going to recommend that you try to squeeze 8 people in an hour and still have like a group talk with them. Okay, so I see some questions, so maybe I'll take a little breather before I go on to the next phase of how I shifted things, and I'll just answer a few questions here. Is that okay, Vera? Okay, so lots of good questions here, guys. Okay, so once a month I did live workshops. Yes, Penny, I did every month, and sometimes twice a month. I literally did the same workshop over and over and over. And I did that right up until COVID, basically. The exact same workshop. Didn't change it. I tweaked it a little bit, but that's it. Did I try these groups online as well? Yes. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well very soon. So up until COVID, no, I did not do them online. And then during COVID, I tried them online. So how often did the in-person group sessions occur? So I had, in the beginning, I started with 2 lunchtime group sessions, 2 evening group sessions, and then that went up to, so these were my offered times. Anyone could start in these groups at any time. So it's not like I had a start and end date for these groups. So, I might have someone who's been on the program for 2 or 3 months, and then a new person who's just starting join in the group. So I offered different time slots that gave flexibility for clients so that they could join at any time. So by the end, I'd offered, I want to say 6 or 7 group sessions a week. So I block off time in my schedule. So it was like 2 lunch times, 2 morning times, and 2 or 3 evening times. And I had some as late as 7 o'clock at night, some earlier at like 4:35. I'm trying to remember. So it was just, I believe it was a total of 7 options, and clients could choose which one they would go to. And they would see me in those group sessions every 2 weeks. How long were your bi-monthly appointments? So my bi-monthly appointments were these group sessions. So they were 1-hour time slot. And I had specifically laid out these time slots for groups. So eventually what started happening, which I haven't talked about yet, was I only did groups. I did not do individuals for metabolic balance at all. And we would meet every 2 weeks, and we'd all meet in this 1-hour time slot, but clients could change which day they came and which time they came. At present, do you routinely do any other testing for metabolic balance clients other than request blood work? I'm not sure I understand that, Uma. At present, do you routinely do any other testing? Oh, okay. So if I'm understanding you, and you can explain it further, Uma, you're asking, do I do like other blood work or any other
Hi, Melanie, this is Uma.
analysis? Hi, Uma. You mean like hair analysis?
Yeah, so I'm just wondering just what is part of the metabolic blood work? Is that enough? Or if there is like no other issues with the client, they're just looking to lose weight, do you routinely send them for any other tests like, body analysis, or is that like important, or is that helpful, or?
So when you say body analysis, are you talking about like bioimpedance, checking hydration, fat mass,
all that, yes, all that, or any other, any other testing that is other than what is part of the plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, as practitioners, we have to always look at our client as an individual and always try to assist them to the best of our ability. So I do body composition or bioimpedance analysis at every appointment. And that's part of my metabolic balance package. Now, other things that I may suggest to them, but I don't put it in my package pricing because I want to keep the package pricing low for that, but we'll do other visits outside of their metabolic balance visits. I might do live blood analysis. I might do hair analysis. We might do IgG testing. I may refer out if I feel they need other tests from a naturopath. And also, of course, like supplementation recommendations, all of that as well. Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Okay, just a few questions that I think I've already answered. Did all of your group participants start at the same date? No, it was all over the place. Anyone could join at any time. How did I manage the different phases? Basically, same thing. If someone had a question and they're about to move into phase 3, or if I knew they're about to move into phase 3, that then would become part of our group discussion, which I feel is really important that people hear about moving into phase 3 more than once. So when I did start actually doing more of a strategy with my groups, and I'm going to talk about that really soon, that's when I also would make sure to also be sure to discuss phase 3 as a group before they're even in phase 3. For 2 reasons. I felt it was important that they needed to have something to get them motivated and understand that the way they're eating in the beginning is not the way they're going to eat for the rest of their lives, but also just to kind of get it sinking in and to get them thinking about it so that they can start asking questions before it's actually time to move into phase 3 as well. Okay, so, oh, lots of questions coming in. I may have to go back to that. Okay, so I'll stop here and then I'll answer some of the other questions as I go along, because there's quite a few questions there, which is great. Okay, so just to kind of recap where I was doing groups, having 8 people in a group wasn't the best thing for me. And then recognizing that I was overworking, working 3 days a week, 10 to 12-hour days, burning myself out, but in a good way, because it was so exciting, right? Clients were getting amazing results. There were so many referrals coming in, and that was just, again, reiterating back to me, like, this program is amazing. So it was time to move on a bit though, and get a little bit more formatted with my business. And so I decided to expand on my own. I moved into my new space here. I've been here for about 6 years now. I think it's 6 years already. And so I expanded, moved it into a bigger space where it's just my space. It actually saved me in rent. I had to spend some money to renovate, but I'm spending less in rent than I was at the other place. And I've got 750 square feet, brought in saunas, brought an assistant in, and I was able to then, work a little less, meaning I work 4 days a week now instead of 3, and I don't do 10 to 12-hour days, and I give myself rests in between clients, and I'm not back to back to back. So definitely taking care of myself, which is very important in our industry. We need to make sure we're doing self-care. But then that gave me the opportunity to shift things. I was able to have more group sessions throughout my day. I have the room that I'm in right now is my meeting space. And at that time, I decided that I was not going to offer metabolic balance as individual clients anymore. So I increased the price. And so it was $999 and everybody was going into a group. And I literally just told people, this is what happens. So again, if you're thinking about moving into more of a group situation, you have to be confident in that decision. And you just have to guide and direct people. Okay. I think a lot of changes are usually because of our fear. But honestly, no one had a problem. No one had a problem when I said, this is the metabolic balance. This is how it works. We meet every couple of weeks. We are going to be in a group setting. And if you're not comfortable, don't worry. You're not going to be pressured to talk, blah, blah, blah. And it worked great. And again, I still offered accountability sessions for anyone beyond their package, which is super important because, like I said, maintaining their goals is even harder than getting to their goals. What else did I do when I moved here? I had kept the 8 clients, so 8 in 1 hour time frame, but now I had an assistant. It made things easier. So my assistant would do the body composition test in a different room, and then the client and I would go over the results really quickly. And the same thing, they would have questions. I say, you know what, that's a great question. Let's talk about that. Is it okay if we talk about that today in the group? And they'd say, oh yeah, no problem. Great. But then I started developing a system. And the system I put in place was to have topics. What a novel idea. Every group session had a topic. So I broke it down into one topic a month. One topic every 2 weeks. So I'd repeat the same topic for 2 weeks because these clients were coming in every 2 weeks. So I'd be having different groups every 2 weeks. So I'd have one topic for half the month and a second topic for the other half of the month. So every month, 2 topics basically. And those topics could be things like moving into phase 3. What to expect, how to do it, moving into phase 4, what are macros, how to read labels when they get into real life situations and they're not following metabolic balance strict, they're going to need to know how to follow and understand labels better. I had purchased some Lori Kennedy products way back when, and I used that. I tweaked it a bit and used her handouts, used that as topics to discuss. And also Jane's book. Can't remember the name of Jane's book, but she had a couple of great exercises in there. One of them was the shapes exercise. If you guys are familiar with it or not, it's more of like a psychosomatic kind of psychoanalysis. That was a lot of fun. So tried to bring some things in that were fun as well, and some stuff that was a little more serious, but that worked better. And it gave me more confidence because we'd have a topic and clients liked it. Like they would come in and say, what's the topic today? I'm like, oh, okay, they like this. The challenge was keeping it exciting for those who had maybe a 6-month plan, because then they would get repeats, because I literally, again, when I have a system that works, I stay with it. So just like the metabolic balance video that I probably did at least 75 times or more, and I didn't change it for 7 years, this system was working, so I didn't change it. So I kept doing the same 2 topics every month, like, switching them for years. So for the people that were 6 months, things would change because as new stuff would come up and as I would learn and grow, I might add to it. So most people were perfectly fine sitting in the same group. They probably didn't grasp everything the first time around if they were in, that class 6 months ago or 3 or whatever. But so that was good. The other thing that I really learned as well in that time frame was that with a group session, you don't get as much one-on-one time with the client, which can be problematic if they do need more assistance in other areas. Metabolic balance is fantastic. It addresses a lot of core health issues, but there are times where they might need some other testing, as Uma was asking, and they might need it throughout their program. And maybe you didn't identify that in the beginning. There are times where maybe they need some supplementation, life changes, maybe they're under more stress and they need some support with that. So that is the one thing that I started recognizing. And on the flip side, though, I started realizing that it was doing a bit of a disservice for me, because I was still kind of always looking for new clients. You know what I mean? I was still looking for my minimum of like 12 to 13 clients for metabolic balance every month, which is great. But I still was trying to fill my day with metabolic balance. Whereas some of these clients, I started recognizing I could be shifting them into other services that I provide. And I wasn't getting that close interaction enough with them to be able to talk with them and promote something else that may benefit them. So that was some areas that I was starting to recognize just before COVID. I would say probably like the 2 years leading up to COVID. And then the other thing that I recognized as well was that they weren't staying as much for their groups. So my clientele, when I moved to this office, slowly shifted. I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but what I recognized was the clients I'm now serving are much busier people. The clients that would stay for the groups and who loved it, they were retirees. They were probably in their 50s and 60s, maybe not quite retired, but no young children at home. They liked to stay for groups. Okay, so that was one thing I started noticing before COVID. About the year before COVID happened, it was becoming a problem where I'd book off this hour time and clients would fly in and fly out. They only wanted their body composition. They didn't want to stay for the group coaching. Those who did want to stay, stayed, but it seemed to be always the same people. And they ended up being like the retirees. They had no place to go. They just wanted to sit and chat. They didn't care what I was talking about. They just wanted to sit and chat. And I'm happy to do that. But at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, now this is starting to actually waste a little bit of my time because I'm blocking off this time in my schedule. So that was becoming a bit problematic. And COVID actually was like perfect timing for me, because I was getting ready to shift out of these groups, but I was like, how am I going to do this, right? I had that fear again of changing. So, yeah, so I'm just looking back at my notes here. So 2 years before COVID, attendance in the groups dropped. So that wasn't working. The other thing that wasn't working was my attendance to my monthly workshops also started dropping. And so, I mean, 7 years of doing the same workshop over and over, that was a good long haul. But people weren't coming in for that anymore. I was still getting referrals, but they weren't coming in for that. So that meant then I had to explain everything that I explained in the workshop with them one-on-one. And how I mentioned earlier, I like to save money. I like to save time. I'm really frugal that way. So I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, this is too much time. I'm spending too much time with everyone one-on-one. And so that wasn't working anymore. The workshops weren't working and the groups weren't really working. So COVID was perfect. When COVID started and we had to, stop the interaction in person, I started offering online. And I'd have a lot of people sign up, usually, my metabolic balance clients who were current and a lot of old clients as well, because I'd have everybody in an email list that had done metabolic balance, and I just invite everyone. So for the groups, that's what I would do. And for some of the group sessions, I would also pay Facebook advertising and promote it to the general public. And I would get a few people who had never been to see me that way. I won't say that it was amazing. I have a lot of people sign up, but very little show up. And that's generally what's going to happen when you do advertising on Facebook. If you get a 30 to 40% show up rate, I think you're doing pretty good at that rate. So that, again, wasn't really working when I was shifting through COVID. The online was getting a lot of signups, but my clients weren't really attending. And that became problematic because you want that interaction, right? It's not like you're just doing a whole presentation. You actually do want the interaction. So for me, I ended up recording things, and how I shifted that to make it work for me is I was using Practice Better. I started that during COVID. And then I ended up video recording some videos of like sessions that I would normally do, like what's phase 3, what's phase 4, that sort of thing, and putting that in their part of their package for metabolic balance. So they actually get my videos that I recorded as part of their package now as well. And then I stopped doing any type of group sessions. So that was really helpful for timing. The other thing that I did as well was I recorded one of my metabolic balance webinars, and it's mandatory for everyone coming in for a metabolic balance appointment to watch that video. And I'm going to redo it because I'm going to be changing my pricing. I also want to condense it a bit because it ends up being like an hour to an hour and a half with questions from clients. It's too long, but that saves a lot of time. And by the end of that, they're either on board or they're not. It's very rare that someone comes in for a consult with me and they're not already ready to get going with metabolic balance, because they've seen the video, they understand the process, they understand the pricing. So that was another win for me with COVID, that more and more people are definitely on board with doing more virtual stuff and watching more videos. But for me, I wasn't finding it great for attendance to do these webinars. Okay. I think that's the main stuff. So currently I'm back to doing clients one-on-one. I increased the pricing. I reduced their visits. I'm still getting, an average of 11 to 13 clients every month. Last month it was 15. So, my numbers are still good. And because my pricing is up, I haven't taken any pay cuts, which is nice. And I'm finding that it's more valuable to clients. I'm getting to know them better. I'm getting to, be able to assist them and guide them in other areas and offer other services, which is helpful because I'm not always constantly looking for new clients. New clients take a lot of energy, right? That initial consultation, you have to be very present. You have to really get to know and understand your client, understand their personality, where they're coming from, what their goals are. It's a lot of energy. So if you already have an established relationship with someone, it's a lot easier to work with them and offer them other additional services than it is to constantly be looking for that next new client. And what that does as well is it gives them that trust in you that they're going to come back to you. If they fall off metabolic balance, if they need a new plan, they're going to come back to you. You know, I have clients from 7 years ago. Some of them I actually still see on a regular basis for maintenance. They come see me every 4 to 6 weeks for a body composition test, and they've maintained their weight. Other clients, maybe I haven't seen them in 7 years, but they, you know, we work together in a various different ways. You know, they're on my email list. So it's that trust that they'll come back, or sometimes they'll reply to an email and say, thanks, Mel, you know, that looks really good. Or, you know, I have this going on. Is this something you can help me with? So really establishing a better relationship works in my office for me and my clients. That's what I have found, rather than just trying to push them in and out too quickly. But so the big things that really worked well for me, shifting through, you know, groups and then not having groups, is using more automations, using Practice Better to its full potential, adding, you know, the videos to Metabolic Balance online, adding in automation so clients can book in themselves for a discovery call for free. They can do all of that online. You know, when I first started, I really wanted to control my schedule. If I had a client who was maybe really needy and took a lot of my energy, I would often want to place them around certain clients that maybe weren't so needy. Now I just trust the universe, and I just let clients book themselves in. We do pre-book some appointments, as I had mentioned earlier, that I used to book all of their 10 or 8 appointments for their 3 months all at one time. We're getting back to that, just because I'm finding that a lot of clients are really still not recognizing that there is an expiry for their package. I do extend their package if they are, you know, going on vacation, or if I'm on vacation, we'll extend their package for that. But if it's just because they're not coming in because they don't feel they're doing as well as they should be, no, their package is not extended. It ends at the 3-month mark, and, you know, that's for them to recognize that that was their choice. Yeah, so those things all seem to be working really well still. Higher pricing, like I mentioned, is working well. Trying to think what else. Yeah, the biggest thing I learned is that just to shift and grow with your clients' changing needs, know your audience, you know, listen to their needs, verbal and nonverbal. And don't be afraid to charge what you're worth. Go outside your comfort zone. So if you're just starting out, and I mentioned earlier, you know, charge more than you think you should, because it's an amazing program. And it's really hard when you start low, like I did. I started way too low with my pricing. It's very hard to get yourself to increase more without feeling guilty about it. Yeah, so I think that's the main things that I wanted to just discuss with you guys. Let me just go through some of the questions, and, you know, if you've got other questions, we can open up the lines maybe after as well. Okay, so going back to, you mentioned not to use the cherry liquid magnesium, only the lemon. Can you explain why? I'm not sure who that, Marie, I'm not sure who you're asking that to. Maybe
that's, yeah, in the Facebook chat, you had mentioned that, because that came up and I used that and I loved it. So that's why I'm asking you why not to use the cherry one. You said that in our Facebook chat at some time.
I don't believe so.
No,
maybe you're confusing me with someone else.
Maybe because I knew that you were coming up for the speaking, and that's why I thought I'm going to ask her that, because I am curious. But so there's probably no problem with it, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if someone else said that, but that wasn't me. I don't use the liquid magnesium. I use the natural calm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I'm wondering if it has something to do with more flavor.
I just answered that question. The cherry flavor has artificial flavor, and the lemon one has natural lemon oil. So that was the reason for that.
That makes sense. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Sujata, did you use a sample plan for the meal plan presentation? I used my own plan. What did you use for client tracking? Good question. I used, in the beginning, when I didn't have Practice Better, spreadsheet. I would do an Excel spreadsheet, and I would, at the top, have their name, their age, their weight, their height, their start weight. And then I would have, a square for each appointment that they're owed. And then I would put their weight and each appointment date, like right underneath it. And then for body composition, I'd have all the body composition criteria that I was tracking. Nice thing is that in Excel, you can have it calculate for you. How much fat did they lose? How much weight did they lose or gain, and all of that. So that's how I would track their appointments in the beginning. And now I use Practice Better, so it tracks for them. So Allison, how did you do all your body composition analysis once you went online? Yes, so there wasn't any body composition analysis initially. And then what I started doing after, who was it, Jen's recommendation for the Renfo? That's what I do for any clients who are not local. I will ship them a Renfo right from Amazon. And so at least we have that to use. But yeah, initially there wasn't anything. Penny's asking, do you advertise your pricing in your monthly workshops and anytime you post about metabolic balance? So yes, I always gave my pricing in my monthly workshops. I have the pricing on my website. I don't post it in like Facebook or social media. I don't post anything there, but it's all accessible to people. Do you offer free one-to-one session and meet a potential client and sell the program to them? I offer a free 15-minute discovery call for anyone. And that's basically been since I started using Practice Better. That's when I really started offering that. And that is helpful. And then once I've met with them, if I think they're a candidate for metabolic balance, I'll send them the video link and they'll watch the video for metabolic balance. Body composition test has to be in person. That's correct, Sarah, and unless you have a Renfo scale. Deanna is asking, which BIA do I use? I have a Biomarkers 2000. I think Sujata had one. I don't know if she sold it, but I know you had one too, Sujata. It's a portable one, so it is nice, especially when I was doing the.
Yeah, I still have it.
Oh, do you?
I do, and I don't see clients in person. So if anybody is interested in buying it, we can have a discussion.
Yeah, that's good for you, Sujata, that you're doing everyone online now.
Yeah, well, it gives me a flexibility with my timings, being empty nester, right?
Nice, nice. Yeah, so I use the same one that Sujata uses. And what's nice about that one is it's portable. So when I was doing like health shows or wedding shows, things like that, I would, to draw people into my booth, I would actually do a body composition on them. Free body composition is what I would advertise. And that got a lot of people stopping because who doesn't want a free test? And of course, when you go over the results with them, it does also start some communication, asking about their health and their concerns and goals. And so even if I didn't book them in for metabolic balance, a lot of times I'd book them in for something else. So I'd offer a discount on an initial consultation with them. And they had to book in right at that time at the booth. And those things are starting to happen again. We just had a wedding show locally, so that was nice. Okay. So how much?
I have a question, Melissa.
Oh, sure.
Do you have a Renfo scale as well?
I have one as well at home. Yep.
Yeah, and have you compared the body impedance and Renfo?
Yeah. So yeah, they're going to be different, and even any other one's going to be different. So the one thing that I always explain to clients, because some of my clients also have them at home, plus they're seeing me in person. The way the bioimpedance works is if you're standing on it with your feet, you're getting mostly the lower half of the body. So when I use the Renfo at home, my body fat is always way higher because I carry most of my weight in my legs.
Correct. Okay.
Now, when I go on my office one, you get your hand and your foot with the electrodes. So it's doing more of the full body and you're going to get a lower body fat for me. Other people may be the opposite. If they have thin legs, but carry more in the abdominal area, then they're going to have a better reading at home on the Renfo than they do in an office setting. So yeah, so it's good. It's a good reference. It's not as accurate, but it's a good reference. And there's not as much information. So this is one of the things that I have to explain to some clients who understand body composition. You know, they may be like, I'm losing muscle, and you have to look at all the numbers. You got to look at the water, you know, because the way bioimpedance works is, you know, you've got to look at all the numbers to really understand what's happening. So I had a client not long ago saying that she was losing fat or losing muscle. And I'm like, no, you're not. Look at your water. Because every time her water would shift, her muscle would go down. I'm like, you're not losing 2 pounds of muscle. So that was one thing. Renfo's not accurate. You can't lose 2 pounds of muscle in like 3 days. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. That's one thing where, you know, if we can go over these details on the body impedance, if whoever wants to do it, maybe Melissa again, that would be really a great discussion. Another topic for roundtable, maybe.
Yeah, we could certainly think about that. Yeah, if there's enough interest. I know not everybody's using it, and I'm sure there could be other resources as well. But yeah, if everybody likes the topic, I just see Joanne also jumping in, then I'm not an expert. Whoever is an expert and wants to talk about it, I'm happy to plan the meeting for sure.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Amanda asked how much I'm currently charging. $11.99 for my 3 month, and that'll be going to $12.99 soon. 6 months, I charge $14.39. Do you think someone could be a metabolic balance coach when they're still a holistic nutrition student? I guess that would be up to Vera.
They can start the training, but they shouldn't see clients until they get their liability insurance. That's not, you know, that's just very important for everybody who works with people, that they have for their own company in order for their own business, their own liability insurance. So shouldn't take anybody, you know, we can take you as the person as a coach, but not as an active coach until the insurance is in place.
Okay. We good for a few more questions, Vera? Okay. So Amanda's asking if I'm still using Practice Better. Yes, I am. I love it. It's a great system. Totally off topic. Who did you see for the psychic? Actually, so she's since passed away. That was a lovely woman. I saw her a few times. Who's asking that? Tara. So Tara, if you get in contact me, I can tell you another person's name I've been using. Her name is escaping me right now. She's actually in Michigan, so she's in the USA, so she does virtual. And this woman is phenomenal. She charges quite a bit, but she is so worth it. Like names, it's unbelievable the things that she has, she's done for my reading. So
I'm going to message you because I'm all about that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, message me and I'll send you her info. I can't think. It's Trisha. I probably have it in my phone actually, but I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Okay. So what is the item you shipped from Amazon for the body composition? Renfo. And that was thanks to, that was because of Jen, wasn't it? Was it Jen who had shared that information with us? So the Renfo scale, and they're usually pretty inexpensive. Like I think you can sometimes even get them on sale for like $30-something, but usually around $40. Okay. Joanne, are you willing to share your intro to metabolic balance that you make mandatory for clients to watch? I know we are all offering something different, but it would be nice to see other options. Or do you use your old recorded workshop? It's probably, Joanne, it's probably the same recorded workshop. But yeah, if you go on my Instagram page, go into my link tree there, it's there.
Look in there. Okay. I had to step away from the computer, and I heard you say something. You were going to make a mandatory video that if someone hasn't already seen it, they have to watch it ahead of time. And I wasn't sure if that they were one and the same or not.
Yes. So I make it mandatory that anyone who books in for a metabolic balance consult, they've got to watch that video before they come in to see me. And there are a few people here and there that they don't watch it or they watch part of it, which is why I want to shorten it. But most people, they do watch it. So you know, depending on the situation, if it's a client that requires a lot of time in the initial consult and I can't, you know, I just can't take the time to explain it to them, they'll understand because they were supposed to watch before they came in. So I just say, you know what, you know, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I won't be able to spend any more time explaining metabolic balance. So, if, you know, go home, watch the video, and then we can decide, you know, how to proceed, kind of thing. So,
okay, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. And then do you have set questions that you ask for the 15-minute discovery call to see if they are a fit? And would you be willing to go over a couple of them with us if you do? Yeah, generally I do really loosely, you know, I'll find out, you know, what their goals are, how they found me, what have they done that has worked in the past for their goals, what hasn't worked. Those would be like the top things off the top of my head. And a lot of times people just want to tell their story. That's what I find in the discovery call. So I'll let them talk quite a bit. And then I'll just kind of ask a little bit more about their story when as they're sharing everything with me. But mainly just what have they done in the past, what worked, what didn't work, how long has their, you know, if it's weight, that's the only concern, how long has their issue been an issue for? And yeah, and then just kind of let them know a few things about metabolic balance, how it may benefit them, and that, you know, I have this video, it would be really good for them to watch it. And I always tell people they'll get a lot out of the video because the rules are discussed. So there's a lot of things that they can actually take from the video and start implementing right away. So I always make sure that I tell people that as well. They will learn a lot from the video. So don't ever forget about that too. You know, there's a lot of good info that we can share with our clients. So. All right, I think let me see here. Oh yeah, there's a question there for Vera about looking at the Renfo scale for discounts. You guys are welcome. Thanks guys for sharing the love. I appreciate that you're enjoying this. Okay. How many visits for 3 months, Joanne asked.
Yeah, I was just curious because you move different months. I'm about every 2 weeks, so I do 8 over 4 months. I'm just curious what you've settled on now.
Yeah, so currently it's every 2 weeks as well, Joanne. And so I do 3 months, so I'll see them 6 times in the 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's it for questions. Does anyone else have any other questions? Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much, Melanie. That was really helpful. I hope everybody else really liked it too. I think we were a little bit less people than usually because it was an hour earlier, and I keep that in mind. But maybe moving forward, we can also do an evening one at some point. But then I can't attend depending if I'm in Europe or where I am. But that's why I do the lunch meetings. Anyways, next time it's going to be 1 p.m. again, and we have the recording. I'm really happy that everybody can watch it later on. And Melanie, thank you so much. I think it was really helpful. Now we've almost heard all the top coaches speak, and everybody has a different approach and a different success story. But all are passionate about the program, and I think that's one of the most important things as well, right? That you just love it, and that's amazing. And I can feel the love. And thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording now.